Guys, welcome to the very first episode of Story Time with Chiamaka. And guys, please, if you know you are new here, please guys, subscribe and hit the notification bell so whenever I post, you'll be the first person to know. Now guys, today's story is talking about a woman named Mrs. Stella Chioma Chukwu Emeka. Now, Mrs. Stella Chukwu Emeka is suing Mr. Matthew Chukwu Emeka to court for allegedly using love charms on her to be able to get married to her. Now, Mrs. Stella is suing Mr. Matthew for allegedly using love charm on her. How it all started now? It started way back in 2008. 2008, Mr. Matthew Chukwemeka was wooing Mrs. Stella. So he promised her that when he gets married to her, he's going to further her education to whatever extent she wants. Now, upon hearing this information, the family, that the parents of Mrs. Stella, were furious about it. They said that Mrs. Stella was just 18 years old and is too young, rather, she's too young to get married. Now, as at then, Mrs. Stella was staying with her aunt in Lagos. So her aunt, because of the constant disturbance from Mr. Chukwemeka, had to send Mrs. Stella back to the village to stay with her parents. Now, upon discovering that Mrs. Stella was no longer in the city, Mr. Chukwemeka embarked on a journey to the village of Mrs. Stella. There, Mrs. Stella alleged that when he came to the village, he used love charm to convince her to get married to her. No, hold on. No, he didn't get married to her. He used the love charm and made Miss Stella run away with him to the city, that's Lagos. Now, upon getting to Lagos, he promised her that he's going to enroll her in school. With all those promises, you know how men can be. So Mrs. Stella fell for it, and he enrolled her eventually on WAEC. So after writing the WAEC exam, Mrs. Stella took him. And she said, according to her, she said that she was a virgin when Mr. Matthew Chukwemeka entered the place. You know where the place is. I don't want to go further. Now, when she took in for her first baby, Mr. Matthew told her to stop the whole school stuff and concentrate on giving birth first. Then after that, they can continue with the education. So when she gave birth to her first child, she was like, okay, now she's ready. They should start the whole process again. But then Mr. Matthew felt like there was no need for that they should just continue with the marriage, of which he hasn't paid the bride price yet. But when she continued persuading him to like fulfill his promise to her of sending her to school, then the worst happened. Mr. Matthew started beating Mrs. Stella. He started abusing her. He took her for a sex slave. He was sexually assaulting her. He would have his way whenever he liked and wherever he likes with her. After giving birth to 3 children for him, that's 2 twins and a boy, Mrs. Stella was fed up. She even complains to the judge, Judge Fumi, that because of the slap, one of the slap that Mr. Matthew Chukwemeka gave to her, that presently she could not hear well with what he heard. Men. Now, after giving birth, she decided to escape for her life. Before trying to escape, she had earlier complained to Mr. Matthew Chukwemeka's family that he was assaulting her, beating her, and taking her for a sex slave. Now, she also went to her parents to complain of her husband's behavior towards her. Upon hearing this, her family were more like the peacemaker. Please try and settle with your husband, stay with him. You're already married, you choose him. In fact, you ran away from home because of this man, so you have to stay there. So she went to the husband family. Those ones, they turned deaf ear to her plea. So her next option was to run for her life. Now, while she was trying to escape, Mr. Matthew caught her, and then he told her that if she's going, that she would have to go without the children. Because she was scared that the man was going to kill her and the torment was too much for her to handle, she had to leave without her kids. Now, although the children were still with Mr. Matthew, she was the one literally catering for the children, paying their school fees because Mr. Matthew refused paying the school fees of the children. During the holiday, the kids would come stay with her, and then after the break, they'll go back to their father. Although she told the judge, Judge Fumi, that occasionally she usually goes to the house to pay them a visit. And she even showed clip to the judge that the place that Mr. Matthew Chukwuemeka rented for the children and their nanny to stay was not conducive, that they were living in a deserted place with no neighbor, like the place was more like an uncompleted building. And Mr. Matthew only comes once in a while to see the children, leaving the children at the mercy of the supported maid. Now, she's suing Mr. Matthew Chukwuemeka for child custody and also, uh, no. Now, presently, she had to go back there and take the children from where Mr. Matthew kept them because they were basically living alone with the nanny. Now, after collecting the children from Mr. Matthew, she's suing Mr. Matthew for allegedly using charms on her for child support and neglecting his children in an awful environment. Although the judge is yet to give a verdict on this case, because Mr. Chukwemeka was not present at court to give his own side of the story, what do you guys think of this story? Is Mrs. Matthew telling the truth or she is lying? Did Mr. Matthew allegedly use love charm on Mrs. Stella Chukwemeka, or she was just infatuated or in love or in lust? So guys, let me know what you think on the comment section. And guys, don't forget, stick around because the next episode where Mr. Matthew is going to be telling his own side of the story is coming up next. And guys, that brings us to the end of today's episode. If you know you enjoyed this episode, you want more content from where this came from, please guys, I'm urging you to please subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell. So I'll see you next time, guys. I remain your pretty host, Chi Amaka. Bye.